If I was Minnesota, I wouldn't be too happy with that result. Avs lose to the Minnesota Wild 2-1. To set the stage, of the Avs' 20-man lineup, only 6 players had played 40 or more NHL games to this point. When you compare that to the Wild's lineup, who had 13 players with 40 or more NHL games and included big names like Ryan Suter and Mikko Koivu, it wasn't really a fair fight. The game starts out pretty sloppy for both sides, and the Avs side playing very physical as you would expect from the mostly AHL lineup they put out there. About 5 minutes into the game, the Avs get one of their better scoring chances. Nieto and Como have a great give-and-go play up the near side. Como gets it on the near side boards and rips a shot, and preseason post count is up to 2. Unfortunately, after missing the opportunity, 2 minutes later, both teams' parade to the penalty box begins with Gabriel Bourque taking a tripping call. On that PK, any hope for Blake Como based on that good chance early was completely dashed. First, Como takes a delayed holding penalty in the offensive zone, and then on the ensuing 6-on-4, disaster strikes. Manel has the puck on the near half boards. He's just going to send it in behind the net for Stahl to collect. Now keep an eye here on Como and Granlund. As the puck goes behind the net, we can see Bigra is coming in to push the man behind the net as well as cover the pass to the corner. Cowan is going to end up staying put to cover Zucker, who tries to sneak into the near circle here. And you have Como and Granlund, who are right now about even, but Como is thinking it's his job to guard Zucker as well, so Granlund ends up walking in completely uncontested. The pass gets by Big Raw, and it's an easy put-in for Granlund. With Big Raw challenging the guy in behind the net, you would have been nice for him to stop the pass, but that was on Como to cover that area of the ice. You even had Nieto as the high forward who was covering the man back at the near point, so there was no one else to turn to on the second layer of defense there, and Como needed to get at least some kind of pressure on Granlund's stick. So the Avs are down 1-0. The Wild do get the 2-minute power play that was delayed on Como. The one that was already on the board came off. The Avs do manage to kill it. The Wild got some decent chances, but Bernier was looking pretty good in net. After killing off the penalties, the Avs did start to control the possession, but at the same time, it didn't feel like they were really getting quality chances on the net. With 5 minutes left in the period, the Avs not only get a chance on the power play, but they get a full minute of 5-on-3, and it looked a lot like an AHL power play. I don't think they even got a single shot on net during the 5-on-3. In fact, they only even attempted a single shot. And so we head into the first intermission with the Avs down 1, with special teams being the difference. The first half of the second period was probably the most exciting part of the game, and that really isn't saying much, but at least both teams were getting a few chances. Just a minute and a half in, Blake, the penalty master, Como, strikes again and gets a hook called against him. As if like clockwork, when Como takes a penalty, the Avs pay the price. The puck is on its way to Koivu on the near boards. He's just going to skate it up towards the blue line, where Cowan is going to step up for a hit. Unfortunately, he doesn't do anything to affect the puck, so it just comes right to Granlund, who now has space to skate into to take the zone. As we roll it forward here, we can see all 4 Avs get caught puck watching a bit, all of them looking towards Granlund. You have Soderberg going to immediately challenge Granlund as Cowan is now behind and out of the play. You have Zadorov being the deep man so no one can cut in behind everyone. And you have Nieto completely oblivious here, just kind of watching the puck. And as we can see, Soderberg is going to get deked out of his pants, and Nieto's just going to get caught floating in no man's land, leading to Dumba just unleashing a one-timer. Just a whole string of issues there for the Avs penalty kill, but the biggest one was probably the lack of awareness. Cowan can't really step up to make that hit there when he has the rest of his team changing, so no one can really cover for him if the puck does get past him. And then Nieto was just kind of completely floating in the defensive zone, completely unaware of the men coming in on the far side. Luckily, it wasn't a 2-goal game for long, as just 2 minutes later, the Avs had an answer, even if it was a bit of an unorthodox one. Mironov makes a nice outlet pass to set up Grimaldi and Agazino in a 2-on-2 situation. Grimaldi is just going to take the puck up the far boards. He's going to use his great skating to get around his man. As he's getting around him here, he's going to get tripped up by the stick, but he's going to stick with it and make a great effort to get a shot off as he's falling down. While the puck doesn't go in, he does slide into the net, colliding with Dubnyk, shooting out a rebound, and Agazino gets to walk in and put it away. No one was sure if that one was going to count initially, but Minnesota ends up not challenging, and I do think the refs made the correct call. Grimaldi was tripped up, and he had no control once he had fell over. He was going to collide with Dubnyk of no fault of his own. So, that's what it was going to take for the group of forwards the Avs iced to score on a goalie the caliber of Dubnyk. They literally had to crash into him. Now, a 1-goal game, some of the Wild's bubble players start looking to prove themselves, and Zadorov ends up having to fight Chris Stewart. I wasn't super happy with all of this, as Stewart and Ryan Malone were both running around for the entire game up to this point, looking for a fight, trying to goad Zadorov into a fight, and you know, it was just kind of stupid. I don't want to see Zadorov fight. I really don't want to see Zadorov get hurt. I really wish he could have just avoided it, but these guys just stayed on him, and eventually he just dropped the gloves to get it over with. There wasn't really much to the fight. Stewart is a good fighter, but Zadorov is significantly bigger, and for the most part, Zadorov just used his reach to hold Stewart off, and not a whole lot happened. Once we were past the halfway mark, things started to get really boring. The Wild's possession just completely flatlined for the rest of the second period. The Avs got a few power play chances and were driving possession, but again, with an AHL forward core, they just weren't creating quality chances for the most part. Heading into the third period, Minnesota put themselves in a really tough spot. Starting at about the 2-minute mark, they took a penalty, and then they would take 2 consecutive penalties, each one overlapping by about 30 seconds with the one before it. So the Avs got about 5 or so straight minutes of penalty time, including a full minute of that being 5-on-3. On this series of power plays is where the Avs get their best chance. Grimaldi on the far goal line makes a great cross-crease pass to a wide-open Agazino, who has a yawning cage to put it into, and after it happened, everyone was ranting and raving about the amazing save that Dubnyk made on Agazino. Yeah, no, Agazino just missed. I have it slowed way down here. The puck is about to touch Agazino's stick for the one-timer, and you can't track it perfectly, but you can kind of see it coming up right to about here, and then I'm pretty sure it hits off the top of the crossbar and shoots up out of the net with no effect on it from Dubnyk. He misses it entirely, so unfortunately it wasn't a great save and just a miss. I'm counting it as it hit the crossbar, so number 3. After failing to score on that succession of power plays, the Avs made it to a total of 0 for 8 on the power play. So now we're starting to see why the Wild were perfectly fine with letting the Avs hang on to the puck all game long. They just kept the Avs to the perimeter, didn't give them very many grade A chances, and the Avs weren't able to beat them. Through the rest of the third, the Avs pretty much just get suffocated by the Wild's defense. They don't really get a whole lot more chances. They do have a late push with the goalie pull, but unfortunately Agazino ends up running into Dubnyk and gets called on the goalie interference, and the Avs lose 2-1. So I didn't really touch on a ton of guys because there isn't really that much to talk about for the Avs in this one, as most of these guys are going to be in the AHL all year. In fact, most of these guys are probably career AHLers, but we can talk a little bit more about some of the important guys. First off, Grimaldi was far and away the best forward for the Avs tonight. He was one of the few, if not the only one, really generating good quality chances, as you saw on the pass to Agazino and the goal Agazino ended up scoring. Then you have the veteran forwards, Soderberg, Como, and Nieto, Soderberg looked good. He was being used in a bit of a strange role. They were placing him in front of the net to be a screen as well as try and jam home rebounds and things like that. And he did a good job down there, generating a couple of decent shots on the backhand, and I think he had one on the forehand as well. But to me, it feels like he's not really being utilized fully there, as he can't do the passing that he normally wants to try and do. Nieto, he had some flashes of speed and that one good chance with Como, but then he also got caught floating in the defensive zone, so kind of an up and down night for him. And Como, well, yeah, you already know. On the back end, it was Zadorov's first game back. He looked fine, pretty rusty, but nothing to worry about. Bigra and Mironov, I thought both looked solid. Mironov in particular was very solid in the defensive zone and showed some good outlet passing, better than I expected, actually finding people, as you saw on the goal where he found Grimaldi. Then you have Cowan and Warsofsky. Warsofsky definitely looked a little bit rough. He wasn't great in his own end, and with the 0 for 8 power play, he really wasn't generating anything at all. He seemed to not be able to find that ability to get shots through to the net that he had in previous games, and it makes me wonder if he was being carried a little bit by the quality forwards he was with. For Cowan, he's in a tough spot. He hasn't played NHL hockey in 18 months. He had a bunch of injuries and a whole bunch of issues with the Toronto organization. But at this point, you really wanted to see him to start getting up to game speed. And he's just not really getting there. And finally, Bernier in net. I thought he looked pretty good. He's a veteran goaltender. He should know where he needs to be. The only 2 goals that were scored on him was by a guy wide open 4 feet in front of his net and an absolute bomb of a one-timer that went post and in. So you can't fault him for either of the goals. That is the end of this preseason game review. Thank you for watching. The Avs are on again tomorrow, the 24th at 5 p.m. against Minnesota at home. As it stands right now, I'm not sure if there is going to be a video feed of that one. If there isn't, I think I'll probably pass on doing a review video, as I would just be regurgitating what Mosier called it as. So be sure to check that one out on Avalanche Radio if you want to hear about it. I'm Rudo3, and let's see some roster players next time, huh?